Steel beam units. Loads and loads and loads of cars had 7-inch steel beam units fitted from the early 60s right the way through to the late 70s. Typically 7-inch or 5 3/4 inch. Now what we're going to do is talk about replacing the steel beam unit. They're not available anymore, apart from in very limited supplies. So the easiest thing to do is replace it completely with a modern light unit that takes a halogen bulb. To explain properly, we need to go back to the start. 1950s, we had British pre-focused light units, and here's a typical one that we sell. This is our LEB 300 light unit in a 3-adjuster back shell. 3-adjuster simply meaning that you've got 3 adjustment points. They were screws held with springs and washers, and by adjusting the screws you can adjust the tilt of the headlight. British pre-focused, this is the light unit in its housing, so the locating rim and the holding rim. You've got a push and twist bayonet type bulb holder, like that, and a British pre-focused light bulb. And the pre-focus means that these filaments are offset one to the other to get the dip correct from the light beam, and there's a locating ring with a little indentation, so you can only put the bulb in the light unit in one specific way, unlike much earlier light units where you actually had to focus the bulb yourself by moving it around in the bulb holder. So British pre-focus bulb in a BPF light unit. Along comes the 60s and steel beam unit. This is just really a great big bulb. If anything goes in there, you've got to chuck it away. If you're taking your car to continental Europe, you by law have to have spare bulbs, and of course this doesn't have a bulb, so would be illegal to be used, because you can't replace it if the light unit one side suddenly goes. So what we're going to do is replace that unit with a budget halogen light unit. These aren't expensive steel beam units, typically 12 to £15, that sort of price unit. And this is a budget halogen light that we sell. Massively more powerful than the steel beam and doesn't actually use up any more current. You could use the more expensive YPAC, Cibi or current Lucas production light units, but for this purpose we're going to put this budget one in. The advantage of our halogen light unit is it takes an H4 halogen bulb, of which there are, for classic car users, a good amount of variants, which is very helpful. So here we have them. These are all the same fitment. All of these bulbs will fit into that light unit. We've got 6 volt, 60-55 watt halogen light unit. Should say light bulb really. They're all the same. These bulbs will all look the same. They'll have these 3 locating pins. Six volt. If you've got an early car with a fairly useless dynamo on it, you haven't got the current to knock out decent amount of juice to fire up bright headlights. So here we have one that's a 35 watt 35. So early pre-war cars, poor dynamos, that will work. The standard H4 bulb is a 60-55 watt, fitted in lots and lots of today's cars. These bulbs here were all halogen filled. You can get these xenon filled ones. This is a multi-pack we sell. Now these again are 12 volts and they are 60-55, so that the amount of current they're drawing is still the same, but you're getting 90% more light out of them the gas contained within the bulb just gives you a lot more light output for the same power. Illegal on the road, but this is a 160 100 watt light unit. So if you're into your four-wheel drive and want to be out at night in the countryside, that is absolutely a real floodlight. But make sure your wiring's up to it, because that's drawing a lot of current. This one, if you live in very snowy parts of the world, you get lots of reflection from the snow with your headlights, and or fog for that matter, and this is a specialist one that will reduce the amount of reflection back to the driver. It's called a Four Seasons light. So what we've got to do is get this light unit into the seal beam headlamp unit. These replacement light units, similar mounting to the seal beam. As you can see on the back, you've got 3 locating lugs here, exactly the same as you had moulded into the back of the seal beam, and they're in the same place. Seal beam unit's got 3 connectors. As they would have said on Blue Peter, here's one we made earlier. This one, slightly later, light unit. It's got the same mouldings on the back. It's really just to show you the terminals. This one is a main and dip with a side light. So you've got your 3 terminals, main, dip and earth, and then the side light. There's a little clear window in the reflector on the inside, and on this one a small capless bulb. So that pushes on, and the side light shines through. Now our replacement unit, which is this one, is going to have our H4 halogen bulb in, and we can use the same terminal. So we'll just take the little plug out, put a standard H4 bulb in it. Be careful not to touch the glass so it doesn't break. Now these will only go in one way around. Third time lucky, it's that way. These clips hold it in place. This light unit, the side light, is a little 5 watt BA9 single contact bulb that you simply pop in there and push that bulb into the bung, so you've got main, dip and side light. The connector block is the same, so this connector will fit on here. We sell a number of different connector blocks. You can rewire using a new terminal block. You can buy a little loom. This one's got a 90-degree end on it, just in case, a bit shorter space. Just pushes on, just like the seal beam. And that's a 90-degree kit for just the end. If you happen to have the type that's got the side light window, you need to remove this part here. Just take it out. It's a bit of a job, but it'll come out. And put 2 Lucard terminals on these 2 wires for the side light. Seal beam units, of course, are, as they say, sealed beams, and they don't let any water in. So you have this rubber bung, effectively, which fits over here, just to keep the water out, just in case you get the car flooded. And that pushes over there. I'm going to not use this for the rest of the demonstration because it gets in the way, but basically that pushes over there, and one of the connector blocks pushes over, holds the whole thing in place. So no chance of water getting in. Now, light units on your car Minis, MGBs, all sorts of things would have had the typical assembly here, where you've got the light unit, seal beam, obviously in this case, held into its housing with a securing rim around the outside. Get it the right way up. That's the top, that's the bottom. It's got a simple screw connection to hold that particular rim on. And the replacement unit in exactly the same shell. Here we go. The top, same screw at the bottom. That's the replacement, just showing that the one unit will fit easily into the same housing. And we'll take one apart just to show how that's done. So the seal beam one coming apart. That's the seal beam held in place in its retaining rim, just removed. So here we are, we've changed the wiring from what was that. We've taken this off, and I have to say it's a right fiddle to get it off. I ended up just cutting it off, as there's a little locating pin which holds it in place. So I've cut that off, and there it is, cut off, with rewired up for the side light bulb, which is an LLB 233, it's 12 volt 4 watts, and it's a BA9 single contact. So that's going to go into the hole for the side light. My 3-pin connector that was on the seal beam unit is going to go on my halogen light bulb, and you can see that the old wiring that you had with your car fits neatly and simply onto the new light unit. Now we'll refit this light unit where the seal beam unit was. So here we have our old seal beam unit with its retaining rim. So we've got to undo these simple screws here, put that rim and those screws back onto here, and then we can fit the new light unit into its bucket assembly. So now the light unit will only go in the one way, so you can't get this wrong. You've got your three lugs here, and they've got to line up with these locators, and that actually goes in there. So you've got the 3 little areas that are going to hold these in place, and we pop those back on. So we've already done the wiring required in the bucket assembly, and here we'll connect it up. So the original old seal beam connector, earth and live for the side light. Yeah. And now we've just got to assemble the unit up. Now, these have 2 locators that you sort of push and twist on. That's the one in, and the second one hopefully will go in a sec. The second one in, and then finally there's a securing screw that fits in here. And there we've got our replacement unit successfully in its bucket assembly. Obviously that's on the car, and the final thing to do is just pop the rim, the embellisher rim, on the outside. Screw at the bottom. There we have an H4 light unit, replacing a seal beam. So, to sum it all up, we've taken a seal beam light unit that was fitted to our car and we've replaced it simply with our modern H4 light unit. Here it is in its plastic bucket assembly with the embellisher rim on, and here in our more traditional 3-adjuster bucket. All of the parts we've used are available on the holden.co.uk website. If you need any further help, obviously you can phone us up, the numbers on the site, and we'll be glad to talk you through what you need.